Good morning, everyone. I'm the acting COG chair this morning, so I call to order the May 20th, 2025 meeting of the Las Virgenes-Malibu Council of Governments Governing Board. Terry, will you please call the roll this morning?
Yes, Aniko Gold,
Here.
Marianne Riggins will be
She's
late.
coming. Yeah.
Okay. Alicia Weintraub,
Here.
Jeremy Wolf,
Present.
Kelly Honig.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you. We'll let Marianne chime in when she's here. I wanted to, a couple of things this morning. I wanted to welcome a couple new people to our COG. First, Sean Bayless, the new city manager of Hidden Hills. Where are you, Sean? Hi, Sean. And Candace Bond, the new interim city manager of Malibu. Candace, are you here? I don't see Candace. Maybe we'll welcome Candace later when she's here. Anyway, it's their first COG meeting, and I wanted to also acknowledge Joe. There you are, Joe. Hi. Who's leaving Malibu. Joe, we'll miss you. Thank you very much for everything. Best of luck. Did you want to take a minute to say anything?
Yeah, I have a 20-minute speech prepared. I hope everybody will. No, I'm just kidding.
A PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Just 45 minutes. Yeah.
No, thank you, Kelly, and to the whole group. It's been, we've accomplished a lot in the last few years, and just appreciative of all the relationships we've built here. And I think the city of Malibu is in good hands with Candace for the next few months while the city closes out their permanent city manager recruitment.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda?
Second.
Terry, can you call the roll, please?
I can.
Thank you.
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Marianne Riggins, not yet. Alicia Weintraub,
Aye.
Jeremy Wolf,
Hi.
Kelly Honig.
Aye. Agenda
Motion
is
carries
approved.
unanimously.
Thank you, Terry. This brings us to public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the governing board this morning? I don't see anybody, but Terry, have you received any public comments from anybody?
I have not.
Okay. That takes us to item 4, which is the consent calendar, which we'll approve in one motion unless any item needs to be removed for separate discussion. Does anyone have an item they'd like to discuss separately? No? Okay. A motion to approve the consent calendar would be appreciated.
So moved. Second.
Jerry?
Aniko Gold,
Aye.
Marianne Riggins, not yet. Okay. Alicia Weintraub,
Aye.
Jeremy Wolf,
Aye.
Kelly Honig.
Aye. Okay. Consent calendar is approved. That brings us to our information items today. So information item A is the Los Angeles County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency, Tommy Newman. Tommy, I'm looking for Tommy.
And for Tommy also.
I don't see Tommy.
Well,
want to go on? Go ahead, Terry. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I was going to say, let's give Tommy a minute, and then we can come back to him. Hopefully, if not, I'll try and fill in some of the blanks.
Okay. All right. So let's go to B. Which brings us to Aniko Gold.
Yes.
From Hidden Hills. Aniko, please take it away.
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to present on behalf of Councilmember Laura McCorkindale, who is also a representative to the board of directors of the League's LA County Division. And so she brought forward a proposal that would bring about an emergency briefings or briefing for our cities during emergencies, and I'm going to try to capture all her notes here. So the January fires highlighted a need for more structured and real-time briefings for all county cities during emergencies, something similar to the city of Los Angeles. And we are recommending here the same structure, tested and implemented briefing practices. So again, we brought this proposal to the county because the January fires highlighted and made it clear that we don't have a coordinated or logical Zoom-based briefing process that covers all necessary topics for our EOCs. And there was no consistent communication from the county to our cities. Council members were not consistently involved, and each city had to reach out to individual entities on their own and source their information, which was not an efficient use of our time and resources. So please take a moment to look at pages 10 to 14, and I'll briefly mention components of this communication plan that is based on and is inspired by the emergency briefing strategy of the city of Los Angeles. So just to give a little bit of background where the city of Los Angeles's briefing strategy originated from. During the 2022 rainstorms, LA city staff was overwhelmed, and they had repeated requests for the same information from all their districts. And we also faced similar issues during the January 2025 fires. So again, this led to the realization that emergency communications needed to be streamlined. So LA City came up with a very successful strategy how to conduct these briefings, and they established a centralized, consistent briefing strategy. They delivered the same information to all at the same time, collected urgent issues from council members, and eliminated duplication and inefficiencies. And I want to touch upon a couple of structural points here. They held briefings twice a day during active events at 10 a.m. and at 6 p.m. that lasted about 30 minutes and were followed by a Q&A. The content of these briefings were EOC directors' priorities and updates from operations and weather forecasts. Participation was by council members, chief of staff, city managers, and these briefings were done almost exclusively on Zoom. It was very efficient. Staff was already briefed, unanswered questions were handled promptly, and this system did not require new resources, and it used existing EOC structures and Zoom. There was also a contingency plan in place. If digital communications fail, backup conference lines and satellite phones were used. And districts were prepped in advance with drills and planning. The post-event operations were the following. Frequency of meetings dropped to daily, then weekly updates after events stabilized. Written reports were issued that were matching the briefing content to avoid redundant info requests. And then there were some guests sometimes included in these briefings from external experts, such as CAL FIRE, EPA, etc. So basically, the goal of this proposal that Councilmember McCorkindale brought forward is to implement similar emergency communications and briefing system for our county to create a clear centralized communication, to reduce confusion, to reduce a preventative outreach to emergency staff, to ensure accurate real-time info sharing, to enable faster, smarter, and more coordinated emergency responses. And Supervisor Horvat's office graciously took the lead on this request. And this request also has the support of Commander C2 and Fire Chief Drew Smith. Now we have a 90-day window while the supervisor staff is coming up with a plan that we could implement and they could implement. And it's really critical that our cities are aligned and unified in support of this request. Because if an earthquake hits tomorrow, we need a system in place, daily Zoom briefings that involves all council members and city managers and includes real-time updates, shared information from all involved entities. We all need to be in the loop. Again, please read the document carefully and ensure your city managers read it as well. So this was the first part of Councilmember McCorkindale's update. And then there's a couple other parts that I like to quickly go through. In our last council meeting, Councilmember McCorkindale brought forward the Keep Malibu Alive, Love Malibu Local initiative to help sustain Malibu's local businesses, many of which are struggling. The goal is to encourage our residents to visit Malibu regularly, shop in Malibu stores, and dine in Malibu restaurants. Hidden Hills is contributing by considering how to involve Malibu restaurants in our social events like Fiesta. And we are hereby asking Calabasas, Agoura Hills, and Westlake to introduce same initiatives and mention this in their newsletters and mayoral messages. With little traffic from our area to Malibu and almost no traffic to Malibu from the west side, it's the perfect time to go to Malibu. We'd love someone, maybe Terry or somebody else, to compile a list of Malibu restaurants and businesses that can service Agoura or deliver to Agoura, Calabasas, and Westlake and Hidden Hills. We are also exploring a weekend shuttle bus service to and from Malibu, so residents can enjoy the pier and dining there safely without concerns of drinking and driving. And we're open to all ideas, and we are asking for your support. So finally, I saved the best for last. I'm sure you can all remember when I was the COG president a few years ago, and I initiated that we stay on Zoom, thereby making us more efficient, conserve our time, staff time, and also help the environment by staying off the freeway. And here we are years later, and it's working perfectly. We leverage technology and we're using Zoom, and we are functioning better than ever. You know, we're not looking back, we're looking forward. So with that same innovative mindset, I want to bring forward a proposal, an idea, initiative on behalf of Councilmember McCorkindale, which involves ChatGPT Enterprise, which many municipalities across the country are already using to significantly increase their efficiency by as much as 45%. Here in Hidden Hills, we've already started exploring how AI can support city operations. Our entire staff has been learning how to use ChatGPT in ways that apply directly to their roles. However, we quickly discovered that the current federally focused solutions like Azure or government AI are designed for massive agencies and is not a great fit for small cities like ours. That's why we've been working directly with OpenAI to figure out a better option, and that there is one if we work together. They've agreed to offer us ChatGPT Enterprise if we can pool resources across all 5 of our cities and reach a collective minimum of about 150 up to 300 accounts. Each account corresponds to a staff member or official, city clerk, public safety, accounting, and anybody else on your staff. And here's why this matters. If we act together, the monthly cost will be much lower. We're going to get enterprise-grade security, 24/7 live human support, and this is the only version of ChatGPT that has this service, tailored role-specific training for our entire staff, including accountants, safety officials, etc., and dedicated feedback channel to suggest new features or improvements. This is incredibly exciting. So by leveraging AI technology, we would dramatically boost efficiency, helping a staff of 10 function as if they were 20 right from the beginning. Since enterprise requires a single centralized payment, we propose managing it through the COG, and the COG could serve as the account holder, and each city would simply pay for its share of users. We are still waiting for final details in an upcoming call with OpenAI next week, but we'd love for each city manager to consider this. If there's interest, we can move forward in exploring cost and logistics together. In short, this is a low-cost, high-impact opportunity to empower our staff, modernize operations, and collaborate across our cities in a truly innovative way. Let me know if we can count on your support to explore this further. Thank you.
Thanks, Nico. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? Let's do part one first. The emergency briefing proposal. Does anyone have any questions? Joe, I see your hand.
Yeah, and thank you, Councilmember Honig. I don't want to step out of turn. So if Mayor Higgins or anyone else wants to chime in, go ahead. On the emergency operations, I've worked both at county and city level for EOC operations, so I have a bit of an understanding. And we experienced some of that same frustration with the county. I think it goes to the point of having a rhythm of the normal operations in the morning and evening. But what really needs to happen, and where I saw some frustration with the county, is that typically you have a joint information center at the county. So you have a JIC, and they're typically in charge of filtering out all that information and having that coordination with your local then EOCs. And then your EOC would have a rep that would be properly communicating to the local elected officials. So that's the ideal structure. So I think a JIC conversation here in the EOC write-up is paramount in coordinating that with the county. And it's always a battle. It's always a frustration of trying to keep your operations focused on EOC activity versus what you are able to communicate to officials, because you can only have so much of a balance of EOC ops and elected officials within your emergency. But I think that's really where the rub is that making sure the county has their JIC set up properly, and then has that proper coordination once they have their operational briefings in the morning.
Thanks, Joe. Any response, additional questions?
I just wanted to add, I appreciate the conversation and I'd like to explore it further. During the recent fires, we had either our city manager or our public safety director at, I think, almost all the briefings, or the briefings that we were invited to. I could let Kindon add, but as a council, we were getting updates like constantly from people either on the ground or, so I didn't feel we were in the dark at all. But I think there was I actually felt we were invited to a bunch of them, but we just didn't go because we were dealing with so much in the city. But I would never oppose anything that allowed us more involvement or more engagement. But I just wanted to kind of ask Kindon how it was for our city.
Kindon?
Good morning, everybody. So what we
can't hear you, Kindon.
Is that better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Good morning, everybody. What we found was the best, and I think the others.
Okay, now you're faint again. I guess you guys need to be closer to your. Lean in, Kindon.
I'm gonna have just a huge presence on the screen here. So
that's good. Now you're clear. Yeah.
What we found was best, and this is over and over again, is just having a staff member at the incident command center. That really is the key to getting key information. And then just watching where these briefings are happening and whether it's a staff or somebody that can participate in those. But really having somebody at the incident command post is where we're getting the information and being able to relay that back.
Felicia, did you want to add something?
No, I was gonna say, we learned that after Woolsey when we weren't getting the information, and then we made sure that someone from staff was there at all times. And then we repeated that during the fires this year to make sure that somebody was there at all times.
I think it's also too important to add, and I don't see Megan on the line. Megan was critical
I'm
through
here.
this process.
There
There you are,
Yes.
Megan. So it's a shout out to Megan. But once things started and she was able to get that information, she was relaying it back to the city managers just immediately. And so we were able to follow up with questions to Megan. If we didn't have somebody at the incident command post, she was there or had somebody there. And so we were just able to connect in real time with Megan. And again, thank you, Megan. There was a little bit of a ramp up, but I think it was just as Megan was trying to get all of the information coming in. But once she was dialed into those meetings and that information, it was coming seamlessly to the cities.
Excellent. Megan, did you
If
want
I
to
just
add?
could, chime in
Yes,
for a
please.
moment. I think that like Kindon mentioned, I think that we do have a system in place already. So it's kind of, I'm a little confused about what would change with the new proposal, because the incident does regular briefings throughout the day. There's usually like an AM and a PM briefing, and then that information, like Kindon mentioned, would be shared directly with the city managers. And then I feel that the flow of information should be from the incident or from myself to the city managers, and then from the city managers to their council members. So there may have been a breakdown in some sense, in some way in that process, but I just don't know what would change with a new this new proposal, truly.
Well, because it would be centralized, so not just fire, but police and weather forecast and any other agencies that are involved would bring the information to the county, and the county would give us 2 briefings a day, summarizing and of all the information, not just from fire. So instead of piecemealing information from different agencies, I know there are certain things that are already in place, but it would be a streamlined process. So we wouldn't get updates from police separately or fire separately, or we would have to watch the weather channel to see how the winds will blow, but we would get 2 briefings a day that summarize all of that. So it would be one download instead of different downloads during the day. And our experience was very different from Calabasas's. We were not given information, so we were actually just reaching out to different agencies, and that it would be nice if we didn't have to do that. I don't think that's the best use of time of the agencies either, to get hit up 5 times a day for the same information. And this works perfectly at LA City already.
I think, like
Okay.
Joe mentioned earlier, it would have to be a JIC that was
Yeah.
established that would send the information to the county. So yeah, I was just a little confused. But yeah, definitely something I can, work with you all on as well.
Okay, I see Marianne is here, her hand's up, and then Joe after Marianne. Thanks.
I was going to actually let Joe go first. And
Okay.
then I think he and I may be on the same wavelength, but I'll let him speak and then I'll jump in if there's something else.
Please.
Yeah, and I want to support what Megan was saying, because we definitely, as Malibu, got a lot of information, and we were trying to filter that through our EOC. So we had reps at Incident Command, and we're getting all of that. And what we set up and what would be ideal for a local EOC, of course, we're limited in our staffing capacity in our small cities, but ideally, as part of your section tables, that in the management section, you would have a position that's really that information government affairs liaison that is able to then give those briefings to your council members. And what we set up were 2 briefings for our individual council members throughout the day, throughout our incident. So we were trying to facilitate that information. And so that's sort of a best practice, is to try to have those briefings. And it's hard because everything's changing constantly. But it's really contingent on that local EOC to be getting the information from all the different resources, filtering that, and then providing the best summary as possible to your local elected officials.
Marianne?
Yeah, I think the other thing is that there's also different layers of government depending on the size of the incident. So if it's a local to your city, then your EOC should have that command operations set up. And then if it goes to where it's the county involvement, where there's multiple jurisdictions, the county should have that. I think in the Palisades fire, it elevated all the way up to the state being the one that was leading it. And that's the incident command and CAL FIRE, I think, that was leading the incident command center and the briefings that they were doing twice a day. And LA City may have that same model set up. So maybe you were closer to seeing what LA City was doing. In Malibu, we were seeing more from the CAL FIRE or state level. So I think just, making sure everybody's got the same consistency, that we're all dialed into the same information, and then making sure that we're looking at best practices from each jurisdiction and building upon those. And then depending on which agency is the lead, depending on the size of the incident, then we'll see that work through the process and the incident.
Okay, anyone else? Questions for Aniko or comments? Aniko, remind us now where the proposal is now where?
It's with the supervisor, and she liked the proposal because there's no such system in place right now at the county. So she instructed her staff to come back with a plan with best practices and a structure within 90 days. So, and I know that we're all different as cities, and maybe once the information gets to our city, we treat it differently, but there's no system in place right now from the county to our cities that would streamline information. And again, piecemealing things, like if there's a curfew, not just, let's think, big, in terms of emergencies, if there's an unprecedented earthquake that we never experienced before, it's imperative we have a system in place and a contingency plan and backup plans that we can just default to immediately, and not, scramble in the moment. Who are we going to get information from? And maybe the information we get is not complete, or there are other pieces that are important to our residents that we're not getting. So if we have a system in place, a structure, it's going to make it really easy to react. And of course, once the information gets to our city level, we can distribute that however we want to, right? But this is just from the county to our cities, and creating a structure for that we can all count on and know that it's in place. And we know that it's going to start at the time of the next emergency. And, people talk about how we're overdue for a big earthquake. Hopefully it will never happen, but it would be nice to have that structure.
Okay, Marianne, I see you again.
I was just you had 3 proposals, Nico, so I was gonna comment on the shuttle one if you are
yes, please,
ready to move on to that next one. I know, Malibu's very interested. Councilmember Conrad and I have been looking at shuttles. We've had, started having conversations with others with regards to that. And it was something I was going to bring up at the end of the meeting also, having something that we can maybe do as a cog of a joint, because everybody seems to have their own little plan. It would be nice if maybe we take it to the next level. I know I've had conversations with Nick Fox at Metro about things, and talking to Terry. So I think I would love to be involved in that conversation as a bigger portion. And I appreciate the love and energy that you are sending to Malibu. We're very grateful for it, and anything we can do to expand it, it would be welcome.
Anybody else? I just wanted to add a Malibu comment too. We were going to discuss this when we go to the cities individually, but Rob and I did discuss the idea of the shuttle. We're very interested, Marianne. We're going to talk about it at our city. I think it's a great idea, and I know we talked at the conference about it. And anything that we can do to support our Malibu neighbors is something that we are interested in Westlake Village. it's, that's what one of the main purposes of the COG is for us to act together and to support each other when one city or all of our cities need help. So, okay, if there are no more questions on these items,
Kelly, I just wanted to add one
yes,
thing.
please. I'm sorry, Alicia.
The city of Calabasas definitely wants to do anything we can to support Malibu. Just so you know, on Mother's Day, I think Malibu was the #1 destination.
Hi.
There, ran into our community development director, and I cannot tell you how many other people I ran into from our community. So, because we're just right over the canyon, I mean, people are definitely back to going there, and we'll continue to promote that as well.
That's excellent. I didn't know that. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So, Anika,
Yes.
what's the next step? It's not an action item, it's just waiting for the 90 days for the supervisor's office?
Yes, they'll come back to the supervisor with best practices and a plan. So
And then we would adopt that.
if she goes through her process evaluating that proposal and deems worthy of implementation, I'm sure we'll get a recommendation to implement.
Perfect.
So
So we'll come back to the COG agenda
yes, it will come back.
following. Okay, I
Great.
see.
And then any comments on the ChatGPT
Oh,
innovation?
I was just gonna say I'd need to punt that to Kindon.
Yeah, I same for Rob. We would have to talk about that at our city level. But I see Joe again with a hand.
Sorry, I was just going to say my question to the staff, and that can go to maybe the city manager meetings, but what is everybody using for their operating system? Because if people are using Microsoft and Office 365, Copilot is embedded in there as well, which is very similar to ChatGPT and might have more continuity with operations, but for the city managers to consider.
So this is really something that the 5 of you will need to delve into information wise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We can ask ChatGPT, right, Kindon?
Yeah. Yeah, we can. What's the best thing to do, right? Exactly. Good one, Terry. Okay, so we're going to go back to Tommy Newman, the Chief of Staff for the Los Angeles County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency. Tommy is here. Please go ahead, Tommy.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for having me. I was trapped there in the Zoom purgatory, but that was really interesting conversation, so I was glad I got to hear it. Terry, do I have screen share just yet? I have a few slides.
Hold on one sec. Yeah, I'll give that to you.
And by the way, thank you, Aniko, for your presentation. I failed to thank you, but
I tried to channel Laura, so I hope I did it.
Go ahead, Tommy.
All right, great. I'll jump in here. Terry shared, I think you wanted me to talk for about an hour and a half about all of these things. So I think we'll jump in. No, I'll be quick. And
yeah, we were planning on finishing around 1 or 1:30.
That sounds perfect. That sounds great. Well, it's great to be here with you all and here to just dig a little bit deeper into the LA County Affordable Housing Solutions Agency, which is a state-created agency that has sort of LA County as its footprint and receives a portion of the Measure A revenues. Just to help sort of contextualize how this fits in with the bigger picture, Measure A has 5 mandated goals related to both homelessness and housing affordability. La Casa is responsible for goals 4 and 5. So La Casa is not responsible for the sort of performance and functioning of the homeless services system. That responsibility and those funds primarily flow to the county. La Casa is responsible for homelessness prevention, goal 4, and increasing the number of affordable housing units, making housing more affordable in LA County, goal 5. These are the metrics that were adopted by the La Casa Board of Directors. You can check out the website there for the full board of 21 that includes small city leadership, COG leadership, experts, City of LA, and all 5 of the supervisors is the board. So this becomes sort of the North Star, the guiding 2 goals for what we're trying to do here: reduce the number of people falling into homelessness and increase the number of affordable housing units in LA County. Right now, La Casa, the agency, is actively in the process of developing its first ever expenditure plan. So, an expenditure plan lays out not only how funding will be distributed, and you'll see in a second that there are some very clear formulas for the local return components of what La Casa is doing. It also lays out the core strategies that are eligible to be used. That's really important. It talks about staffing needs. That's really important. And then finally, the program guidelines, which are the most granular at the ground level, eligible uses, way these dollars can be used. So the expenditure plan, the MOU that would exist between La Casa and this COG, should this COG choose to move forward. I mean, we'd need to have an MOU either way, and we'll talk more about what the options are for what that could look like in terms of the funding and the program guidelines. Those are the sort of 3 legs of the stool: expenditure plan, memorandum of understanding, what's the relationship between La Casa and the COG, and then finally program guidelines. The draft MOU and the draft expenditure plan are currently out right now, and we're receiving comment. They've been out for the last week and a half or so. We're trying to get comments in by this Friday. There will be one more bite at the apple later in the month. I've met with Terry and really appreciated spending an hour with Terry on the phone, sort of digging into a lot of these details, and excited to hear the thoughts here today. What are the eligible uses of the funding? How can the dollars be used? 3 broad buckets here: affordable housing production, preservation, and ownership. Some different examples of how that can happen. Renter protections and homelessness prevention. Some different examples of how that can happen. And then finally, technical assistance. I think a lot of folks probably remember the community redevelopment agencies from way back when. The technical assistance category is really intended to pull from some of the tools and the functions that the community redevelopment agencies had in supporting cities and other jurisdictions, sort of designing and implementing programs and plans that support the first 2 columns on the left, the affordable housing column in green and the renter protections and homelessness prevention column in blue. So we start off by sort of how does the money get divided across 14 jurisdictions. So La Casa is not providing funds to every single city in the county. It's providing funds directly to the 5 largest jurisdictions. So that's Glendale, Long Beach, LA, Santa Clarita, and the unincorporated communities. Those are the 5 largest. After that, everything is done sort of regionally to help pool funds and reduce some of the administrative burden that could come through this. So you can see here the sort of breakdown. The formulas for how these funds are being allocated were set in the state law that created La Casa. They use various metrics. Low income households is an important metric. Low income housing production targets is another important metric. So the La Casa board does not have discretion over all of these funds in terms of how they're allocated across jurisdiction. That's sort of set by state law. There is one bucket, very bottom gray row, called the annual board priorities, which the La Casa board does have discretion over how it's set. And the La Casa board will be taking that up at the June meeting. So all of these numbers in the blue, the light shaded blue boxes, are going to adjust once that 57 million in gray at the bottom is allocated out. So this is a tentative funding allocation by jurisdiction chart, and the final one will come later in the month of June after that La Casa board meeting. This is a closer look at the production, preservation, and ownership categories. So just sort of zeroing in on this cog here, you can see all the way down there, row 9. And remember, we still have to allocate the 57 million, so that number's gonna go up. There's roughly 200,000 in funding for affordable housing production, preservation, or ownership related programs. We'll talk more about options, understanding that that is not a huge amount of money. We'll talk more about options, I think, a little bit in the discussion here. Just an example, if you're wondering, like, what's La Casa going to do with the dollars that the countywide at-large funding that has, and how could potentially your COG and La Casa partner together on the affordable housing production or preservation objectives? Just a quick touch here on this one. On the left, you have a traditional affordable housing finance structure. A bunch of different loans. Every one of those loans adds about $20,000 in cost to the building. Every one of those loans on the left there adds a different timeline, a different set of requirements. It drives up cost, it drives up time. On the right side, you'll see the La Casa approach will be to simplify and be a single source of financing. And it will also not require federal vouchers, which are pretty uncertain right now, housing vouchers. So we're trying to simplify, reduce costs, reduce the time that it takes to get buildings built. And we see opportunities to partner with your COG on that, should you be interested. The other big bucket is the renter protection and homelessness prevention uses. So these are just examples here of the different things that the funding can be used. And we'll talk about that funding amount, which is larger than the production and preservation funding amount. We'll talk about that in a second. But just to give you a flavor here, these are things that have been experimented with in various ways over the last few years. Emergency rental assistance, a good example, relocation assistance, helping a household find a home that they can afford somewhere else, an apartment that they can afford somewhere else. Short-term income support. We see the city of Santa Monica with a roughly $500 a month stipend for seniors, fixed incomes. That makes all the difference between helping seniors keep their homes and lose their homes. So these are all eligible uses of this bucket of funding. And just to take a look here, row 9 again, reminder that we haven't allocated the annual board priorities. So this one will go up as well. This is about $160,000 a year. And after the board priorities is allocated, my prediction is that'll probably be somewhere around $200,000 a year. This could be used for the emergency rental assistance. This could be used for the flexible cash assistance. This could be used for the relocation assistance. And again, how this would work would be governed by the MOU between your COG and La Casa. So that's just a quick overview. I didn't want to talk too long. Happy to go back to any of these slides or clarify anything. I'll follow y'all's lead.
Questions for Tommy? Comments? Nobody? Okay.
I
Terry,
guess
go ahead,
I guess
Terry.
I have one real quick. Well, actually, probably not real quick. Tommy, I got a call yesterday from Sophia in Palmdale, who works for the city, and I communicate with her. She's Mayor, I think it's Mayor Lowe. She's his assistant. And she was asking us or asking me if we would agree to allow La Casa to pass through funds through our COG to their city because their city's not in a COG. They have the North County Transportation Coalition that does metro stuff, but not the other. And honestly, it just seemed like a big ask at this point that we would have to roll up our sleeves and do something like that. And I just wondered if there's any discussion internally on a way to work around that without something like that having to happen.
Yeah, it's a good question. We've been talking with both Lancaster and Palmdale. You're right that they don't have a COG and they're not one of the 5 largest jurisdictions. So that's what gets them into that spot. I think there are a few different options. There's also the San Fernando Valley COG. We're actually meeting with John Boire later this afternoon to check in there. So I do think there's a solution up there. We're meeting with the general counsel of their JPA, their transit JPA that receives a lot of the Measure M and R pass-through dollars. So I think we'll come up with something.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like, you're hesitant to do it, and I think that there are probably solutions that are a little simpler than that. I think
Okay.
the thing that I'd love to explore with you all, and I had a chance to look at your local solutions fund proposed budget, which was attached to the agenda here, and I think you're going to talk about it a bit. It's the Local Solutions Fund is for people experiencing homelessness. La Casa's funds are for people who are at risk of homelessness or are lower income. So that's how those things pair together. But, in the context of the homelessness prevention funds that I mentioned, um, that would be a pretty straightforward thing for you all to take and sort of bootstrap on to the various contracts that you have for administering those local solutions funds or the sort of contemplated approach to administering the local solutions fund. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, we are not, none of our cities are running homelessness prevention programs, 200 grand goes quick. What could we do with it? I just wanted to elevate that's what other jurisdictions are thinking about doing elsewhere around the county and would be a relatively straightforward approach, either through the service providers that are doing it, or I know you have a consultant that does outreach work and some of the triage work. So I feel like there's some easy solutions there on the homelessness prevention and renter supports. On the affordable housing production preservation, obviously hard to build a building with 200 grand. I think that there could be different options, similar to how you all have paid for and reserved shelter beds in various spots. Those dollars could be used to sort of chip in to a building that, for example, is being built in the San Fernando Valley and reserve units in that building, or use it to pay for some of the rental assistance costs related for folks who could be moving into those buildings. I think this is where the MOU is an important component of this whole picture, because what the MOU will do between La Casa and your COG is sort of stipulate which dollars you want to receive and which dollars you want to turn back to La Casa for La Casa to spend on your behalf in sort of coordination with you all. And so we can do that MOU as expeditiously or as slowly as is helpful, Terry. We got it out for review right now for anything that jumps out at you. It'll come back to the board. We're going to try to get the La Casa board to approve the MOU sort of form template at the June meeting, June 25th, and then we'll be ready to sort of go from there in terms of executing it. We're trying to not have bespoke MOUs that are negotiated differently with every jurisdiction, because there's just the opportunity built into the MOU to take some funds or return some funds for the benefit of the region.
Okay. So
Thank you, Tommy.
what I would recommend to the board is that you allow me to discuss this with the city managers, and then we come back with a recommendation on what's the best way to proceed, because there's a lot of moving parts that we're going to have to address.
Everybody good with that? I think that's a great idea, Terry. Thank you. Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
Appreciate
Looking forward to working together.
Okay. Terry, it is time for your executive director's report.
Okay, well, Tommy, I appreciate that you covered the La Casa stuff. That way makes my report go faster. I'll start with our Regional Smart Cities Fiber Network project. Jonathan Smith and the Accenture team delivered the final constructability review comments and recommendations for the revisions to the bid package. They did that last week. I had a meeting on Friday with Entrust to discuss that, and then subsequently sent it out to all of the COG cities. I have a meeting scheduled later in the week with some of the public works directors, city engineers, to discuss the correctability review and the suggestions, because one of the big issues that came up was the fact that doing micro trenching is less expensive, but I realize that that can be an issue with some of our cities, or all of our cities, that are very concerned about maintaining their city streets and arterials. So we'll be discussing that to see if there's anything else that we can do that would meet the standards that the cities in our area subscribe to. So with that, we're hoping to have that finalized within the next couple of weeks, and then run it by the city managers, and then get it back out to bid. And then hopefully the both consultants, both Entrust and Accenture, are saying that maybe instead of just doing a 30-day bid time, that we extend it to maybe 45 days to allow, since it's a more complicated project, it would allow the contractors sufficient time to do their due diligence and come up with a bid that is reasonable. So we're keeping our fingers crossed and moving forward. I'll continue to keep the city managers and the governing board updated as we hit those milestones. Any questions on the fiber project? Okay, I'll go to. I'm pleased to report that Senator Allen agreed to make SB 220 a 2-year bill, which would allow sufficient time for Metro, the cities, and the COGs to discuss the expanded Metro board that would occur sometime in the future, to make sure that city representation continues to be balanced with the county and the city of LA. Once again, in my report, you can read some of the information with regard to La Casa that I provided, and that was the preliminary number that we were given, which was 400,000. The number that Tommy provided is 393. So we're close, but it's going to take some discussion with the city managers to determine how we take this on, or what we do. I can see where some of the funding could be helpful for renters. I'm not sure how much $200,000 is going to do for creating affordable housing in our area, but we can have that conversation. Then I'll report back to the governing board on how we should proceed there. One thing, I spoke with Josh, and I think Josh Torres is on. He wants to comment in a little bit under the agencies, but I spoke with Edison, and they want to present an overview of the rate increase that they proposed to the CPUC, and we're going to do that at the June meeting. Pardon me. I also want to point out that last month the COG approved Malibu Measure R adjustment. However, I was unaware, and it didn't come up in the conversation with Malibu, that Malibu had not had that project audited yet, that they were proposing to move the funds from that project to the other project. And so since the PCH Median Improvement Project hasn't been audited, then once that's audited, it can come back to the COG and we can make that reallocation. And then finally, I have a meeting later this week with the COGS Highway Working Group to begin discussing the Measure M allocations and what projects we'll be able to fund, in addition to adding additional funding to the fiber network if necessary. So I'll report all of that back to you at the next meeting, and report to the city managers and have a discussion there. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Terry? All right, that brings us to our city updates. Nate, there you are. Hi.
Good morning, honorable board members. Good to see everybody today. So quick updates for Agoura Hills. First, want to start with a thank you we had our Public Safety Day a couple weekends ago. I want to thank Megan and the fire department and all the agencies that came out to support a great community event. Although it was some hot weather, we had a lot of people in attendance and a lot of families out, so it's really well attended and was good and educational. We will also be having our wildfire risk assessment community workshop that'll take place this evening. And on the city front, overall, the city council just established their goals for upcoming 2 years. And so we're working on that, integrating our budget like everybody else moving forward here. And one more note of event coming up on May 28th from 9 to 1. We will be hosting our Senior Expo, and this is an annual event. We work with Senior Concerns and several other nonprofit groups in the area in providing services for seniors and care of family members and parents and elderly. So this is usually a great event. We've got a lot of vendors and free food and everything. So I want to just invite everybody to come out and attend that. And with that, I know Jeremy may have had to hop off for work, but if he's still there and have any comments.
Yeah, he told me he's coming back. So we'll get to Jeremy when he returns from the water district. Kenton?
Good morning again. Just a couple of highlights from this last month. Two awards that I want to share with the group. One was the American Public Works Association Ventura chapter recognized the Old Topanga Canyon Mulholland Highway project that was completed in 2024 with its environmentally sustainable project of the year award. And then that was presented to our council just at our last meeting. And again, I appreciate the COG and Terry's help on the funding for that. It was a great project. It took a number of years, as they always do. It's nice to have it done, but also nice to see this award for that recognition. Another award that we just received was from the National Council on Aging. And this was for a project done at our senior center. It was a Braille book project that brought together about 65 seniors and young professionals to assemble over 400 books. And then they also did some shoe tying instructional toys for the visually impaired. And again, this was a national award that we're excited about, and just really impressed with the ideas that our senior center comes up with and how they incorporate the different generations into these projects that they're working on. And then finally, we're up to about 13 or 14 Firewise communities in Calabasas. We've really put a focus on that and have done well with outreach to our HOAs and neighborhood associations to move that program forward. What we're seeing, and I think some of you are probably experiencing this as well, even with these Firewise designations, we're not seeing the changes in insurance. In fact, we're starting to see some pushback more even from insurance agencies that are, even with this designation, not really wanting to recognize that. And so we're pushing through that, and we'll have some more information to share with the group, because I think that will be beneficial for all of us as we navigate that together. Councilmember Weintraub, anything else you'd like to add?
No, you covered it all. Did you want to just real quick give a landfill update? I think there's some interest.
Do we want to?
Just a quick one.
Yeah, so we're still in the process with our legal pursuit against the county and the sanitation district on this. We've had some, I guess, obstacles, in the courts that we're overcoming, but I think our next date is in June, our hearing date, another hearing date in June, and then another one set for July. So we're moving forward with both of those, and hope to see some progress from the legal side of that as we move forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Now we are on to Hidden Hills. Sean, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Brief update. First of all, thank you to everyone for welcoming me and making themselves available. There's always a steep learning curve, and everyone's made it that much easier because they made themselves available. So I really appreciate that. Myself and also Councilmember Gold attended the sheriff's station event, which was actually very nice. And I had two of my kids attend, and the swearing in of the new station dog was very sweet and very interesting for several reasons. So that was nice. The council has moved forward with groundbreaking demolition and construction protocols, safety measures, and quality of life matters. That second reading will be coming up this next council meeting. I think much like everyone else here, we're finalizing our budget details. So we've been going through that process. Councilmember Wasserman unfortunately had to step down due to family and personal issues, but we're very, very fortunate. We've got a long-time council member and I think 7-time mayor, Stuart Siegel. Now council member Stuart Siegel has been appointed, so he'll be taking that position. He's absolutely terrific. Most of you likely know him, and he comes in ready to go, knowing all the issues. So it's a great benefit to us. So, and I can, by the way, personally attest to I visited Malibu both on Easter and Mother's Day. So that's where I spent my family time. I wasn't over the hill. So I think that kind of wraps it up for Hidden Hills, unless Councilmember Gold has anything to add.
Yeah, just two things. The first one is that Gloria Muyeda, as you remember her, our interim city manager, transitioned into a new role of deputy city manager. So she is still with us, and I'm sure you'll see her around. And then I just wanted to touch upon what we are doing in the city. We continue developing a culture at our city that leverages cutting edge AI technology to improve our workflow, productivity, and data-driven decision making. So that's kind of like the atmosphere in Hidden Hills right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, Malibu.
Yes, thank you. I think we've given a lot of attention to Malibu today, so I won't touch on everything, but we appreciate it greatly. So our council meeting, we had some technical issues last week, so we have an adjourned council meeting that's going tomorrow, the 21st. We do have a number of legislative advocacy positions, both on this agenda and other agendas, mostly items that the COG has taken positions on, like AB 470, carrier of last resort. So we're also going to put out a letter on that item. Rebuild and recovery is our highest priority, and it will be for quite some time. And yes, Malibu is open, so please continue to encourage visiting Malibu and our local businesses. So thank you all for doing that yourselves. Please continue to spread that positive word, and also to support our businesses. We have a micro grant program set up. We have right now small grant dollar amounts of $5,000 to $20,000 for businesses, and businesses are to apply by the end of this month. So if you have any relationships with any of our local businesses, please give them that reminder as well. And yes, as we touched on earlier, I am stepping down. My last day is Thursday, although at the current pace, it doesn't feel like it, but will be. And Candace is taking over, and she will. The city will be in great hands, and we're trying to get her up, bring her up to speed as quickly as possible while the permanent recruitment is occurring. So those are my immediate updates, and I don't know if Mayor Reagans wants to comment, or if Candace wants to comment.
I wanted to welcome Candace. Hi, Candace.
Hi, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I just want to say I'm really honored to be a part of the COG, and I've been a 30-year resident of Malibu. I just returned from serving as a U.S. ambassador overseas in Trinidad, and just kind of this is a call to service for me. And so I met a lot of you at the Contract Cities Conference, and really appreciate the support that you've already extended, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you so much, Joe. We're gonna really miss you.
Marianne?
Sorry, I had to switch over to my phone. Some reason my internet connection failed. So I just wanted to say thank you very much to Joe for his service. He has been a great asset to our city, really stepped up during the emergencies, and gave us a great base. And so thank you for his service and his time he spent with us. I want to welcome Candace. I am really excited to be working with her. If you haven't met her yet, I'm sure that you will enjoy any interaction that you have with her. She's got a wealth of knowledge and a love of Malibu, so it's going to be fun to be working with her. And other than that, thank you again for all your support of Malibu. We really appreciate it. And I look forward that we can work together on possibly creating an area transportation system. I know we all have small shuttles or access to something in our own cities. And it would be great if we can come together and make a more comprehensive plan that we can work on together. So if that's through the COG or if that's cities joining together, I just look forward to working on something like that. Well, thank you.
All righty. Brings us to Rob from Westlake Village.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. Believe it or not, summer concerts are starting next week here in Westlake Village. Our first concert actually is the Lindera Middle School and Agoura High School jazz bands on Friday, May 30th. And it's here at the Civic Center. It's free from 6 to 8 p.m. It's really fun, and we have concerts throughout the summer, as most of you do. But I was surprised when I was looking at the calendar that next week they already begin. So, but here we go. So that's happening. Also of note, in Westlake Village, our strategic plan, our 2035 strategic plan, it's a 10-year horizon. We kick that off with our first meeting of our citizen committee later this week. So we're excited about that. Mayor Honig and Councilmember Ray Pearl is helping shepherd that work with city staff and the Citizens Committee. So that'll be very interesting for us to get that underway. We're also very busy with the budget, preparing next year's budget, as I'm sure all of you are. Important exercise for all of us to define our priorities in our capital plan. And we are seeing a softening of sales tax revenue, which is a concern, I'm sure, for all of you as well. And how do we balance that with, expenses outpacing some of the key revenue streams that we have. So we're going to be spending quite a bit of time on our budget strategy for the next, 3 to 5 years in particular. And I was also at Contract Cities conference for a few days. It was just nice to get away and see some colleagues and learn some things. Got to meet Candace. So welcome, Candace, to the group and to Malibu. It's a pleasure meeting you. And lastly, just thanks to Joe as well. His leadership, I think, was outstanding, particularly during just extraordinarily difficult period of time for the region, but in particular for the city of Malibu in November, December, and January. So just with much appreciation for your service, Joe. Thank you from all of us. And that's what I had for today. Kelly, if you have anything to add.
Yes, Joe, thank you so much. Glad that we're neighbors. Wishing you best in whatever you're doing in your future. Let us know. I did want to say a couple things. First of all, I got to interview Deputy Darcy, the new service facilities dog at the station the other day. It was really fun for our video newsletter. So if you get a chance to watch that, please do. She's knows 48 commands, which is a lot. And it was really very interesting to hear again from her handler, Phil. And just quickly, I just wanted to mention something I did last night. I attended at the Reagan, this was a very interesting thing, which I thought was very pertinent to our current political atmosphere. I attended an event at the Ronald Reagan Library, which featured Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham and Governor Cox from the states of New Mexico and Utah. And the forum, actually, I was pleased to sit right next to Alicia's father last night. So it was great to see him. The purpose of this event was to talk about disagreeing better. That was the Utah governor is a Republican, the New Mexico governor is a Democrat, and their discussion, which was very fascinating, was how we as a society can be in different parties and have different points of view, but relationships and civility are still the basis for that. And it was fascinating. And if you can, I believe you can watch it online at the Reagan Library. Really learned a lot. A lot of lessons can be taken from their relationship as colleagues, but people who disagree on some very fundamental issues. I just wanted to let you know about that because I think you can watch it online. And I am finished. So we will move on to the public safety legislative and agency partner updates. Okay, let's go to Lieutenant Carr. Hi, Dustin.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I wanted to start out my statement to everybody with on a more somber note. I wanted everyone to remember uh, our retired division chief, Bill McSweeney, the husband of Mayor Westlake Village Mayor Pro Tem Sue McSweeney. He passed away on May 18th. Bill had a very extensive, honorable career. He was the third when Malibu Lost Hills Station became one station. He was the third captain here from 1996 to 2000, and he was a beloved captain. He was a beloved commander and chief of this department in our training bureau. He spent 41 years on the department and had a lifetime of public service. And even after he retired, he continued his service to the sheriff's department, becoming the president of our Sheriff's Relief Association, which those of you that don't know, they help out a lot of our personnel in times of need, and they do a lot of great work. I want to give my heartfelt condolences to the McSweeney family. Both Bill and Sue have spent a lifetime of public service, which we all know, whether you're elected or a member of the sheriff's department or any other public service agency, is not an easy thing to do nowadays. So let us give our heartfelt condolences to them, and we're with them in their time of need, and anything we can do for them. And with that, I did want to say too that it was nice to see everybody at the our open house on April 26th. When the rains cleared, we had over 500 people attend, and the swearing in of Deputy Darcy was wonderful as well. And moving on to some other stuff. I'm sorry, we started at such a somber note. I gotta catch up a little bit here. Everyone received their invitations. We have a dinner honoring our volunteers and workers of the fires on the 22nd at 4 p.m. So I look forward to seeing you there. We're still working towards the opening of PCH. We still don't have a date for that. But I did want to say that we're going to continue our looter suppression operations once PCH opens up, and it will be a continued presence there in Malibu. And let's see. And then that's all I have for today. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Okay, nothing for Lieutenant Carr. Megan?
Good morning.
I don't see Chief Drew, so good morning.
I know he's not here, just me.
Okay.
It's good to see you all. It was really great to see many of you this past weekend out in the desert at Contract Cities. It's always nice to spend time together in person. As Nate mentioned, we held our Public Safety Day event on May 10th. It was a really big success. We had a ton of people out there. It was about 4,000 degrees, but people still came out. So very successful event. Other than that, the only real operational thing to mention is that all of our defensible space inspections are now underway. So the fire stations will be out in the community conducting those inspections, so people see them out there. That's what they're doing. And other than that, that's pretty much all I got. Unless somebody has any questions for me.
Any questions for Megan? Oh, Aniko, I see your hand.
My hand?
Your hand is up.
I'm sorry. I lost
Oh, wait, no, I'm
connection
sorry.
too. So
No, that was my hand. That was my cursor. I apologize. No, that was me. Never mind. Okay. Danielle, is anyone here from county? I don't see anyone, Terry. Have you? No. Okay. California Highway Patrol, Casey Ramstead, are you here? I don't see Casey. Jeff, I do see you.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see some of you in the desert at Contract Cities. I wanted to mention also we've got a big city manager meeting, countywide city manager meeting coming up tomorrow. So I will be seeing some of the managers there tomorrow. Sorry for not getting my briefing into the agenda. I missed that opportunity somehow this last week, but some updates on what's going on in the legislature and around the state. The governor released his May revise last week, and this week is a big week in the legislature for all of the fiscal bills. The appropriations committees are meeting in both houses. The final report, the final votes, I guess, final report from those committees is due to be put out on Friday afternoon. There's just going down Cal Cities is looking at a lot of bills at this time. Right now, we've got something like 130 on our priority and hot bill list. It's one of the reasons you haven't seen a larger, more definitive list come out from me yet. I'm waiting to pare that down a bit. So a number of those bills that we're watching are in appropriations and will be we'll see what happens there. Obviously, the governor came out and said we're still looking at a fairly sizable budget deficit of about anywhere from 12 to 16 billion dollars, and working to sort of work through that. The governor has still not included any of the HAP funding, those homelessness dollars that go to the larger cities that we've been asking for. And as I'm sure many of you saw, he came out and suggested that cities needed to take up his model encampment ordinance. Cal Cities has pushed back on that a bit. 80% of cities in California already have an encampment ordinance on the books. A full 40% of those updated them when the governor basically put out an executive order telling cities to do an encampment ordinance last year. So this is a lot of public shaming from the governor, but we certainly have been pushing back on that. I wanted to update you just a few of the bills that we put out action alerts on. AB 647 Gonzalez. This would have allowed 8 units, essentially supersized SB 9, allow 8 units on a single family lot. That was halted in the local government committee and is now a 2-year bill. SB 79, the Wiener Transit Oriented Development Bill, that is in appropriations, so we will see what happens with that on Friday. We've been sort of working the Senate Appropriations Committee, trying to get them to hold that bill again. And then lastly, SB 634 by Senator Perez related to homelessness. We sent out an action alert in opposition to this bill. This would have essentially told cities that they could not impose any criminal or civil penalties on a person experiencing homelessness, tying cities' hands on trying to enforce some of these encampment rules or any of the other issues related to homelessness. Thanks to the pressure that the members from our organization supplied over a couple weeks, that author did greatly reduce the impact of that bill by changing the focus to prohibiting the criminalization of providing services to the homeless. Very different from where it started. So we have removed our opposition to that bill. At the division level, we're still following our division-supported AB 1 that helps with the cost of fire insurance by increasing the ability for the Department of Insurance to look at home hardening options for their safer from wildfires regulations. And then in that vein also, the division next week when we meet, we'll be looking at AB 888, which provides grants to homeowners and business owners who are looking to harden their homes. So that's just some of the things that we're working on at the division. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Any questions for Jeff?
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeff. Nancy, I see you there. And then I know we are waiting. We want to hear from Metro as well. Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see your faces. I think Jeff covered legislation. It is moving, has to move out. For our bills, we have 3 that are already on the Senate floor. We have 3 that are on the Assembly floor, and then 13 in appropriations. So it's a crazy week waiting to see what's going to happen. And I also like to not go into our own individual bills so much, so Jackie can come at the end of session and give you her own rundown. But I do encourage you to write us letters, send us notes on bills that are important to you, things you want us to look at, because she does take a look at what has come in, both from our constituents and, of course, our cities, to see how you're feeling on certain issues. So keep us abreast of how you're feeling on things. Locally, last week on that very cold and wet Saturday, we had the inaugural disability fair that we did in conjunction with Thousand Oaks Police Department and the Park and Rec District. And it was incredible. It was something that's new to our area. There is a disability fair that's done up in Ventura on the other side of the hill. We had over 69 vendors, and people, even in that crappy weather, came out, and it was just heartwarming to see so many people get so much information. We have such great community support for the disability community. So that's something that we're going to continue on with. Penny from Agoura was there and talked about the art show that they are doing. So I'm hooking her up with some of the communications we had. Coming up, we have our sidewalk session where Jackie sits down with any community members that want to have a quick meeting with her. Marianne's going to be our guest in Malibu on July 7th. That's from 10 to 12. I'll send you information on that. And on June 12th, we are doing a webinar with the State Fire Marshal. It'll be covering all of the new fire maps and what they mean. Hopefully, there's going to be an insurance person there as well. I will have confirmation on that later today to see what is happening on that end, as we've been discussing earlier in this meeting. But it's also going to be on the Zone Zero regulations. As you can imagine, there are many people that are so totally against that, don't want to change the look of their neighborhoods. So I will send you information. And out in the future, in September, we are doing a day of service for Malibu, all for Palisades and Malibu. And the vision is to have agencies that need help, need volunteers come together. It's going to be at Pepperdine to do any kind of service projects. And we will get people there, hopefully hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. Some will be off site. We're going to work with RCD and see if they have any kind of things they need help with in the creek beds, in planting. So I wanted to plant that seed in your heads. If there's any issues or things the city wants to work on, or any projects that you would like to get off the ground, please reach out to me and we can talk more about what the plans are for the day of service. I think that's everything on my plate for now, unless anyone has questions. All right, thank you.
For Nancy?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to Metro next and then to the AQMD. Please be mindful of the time. We're coming up on the 10 o'clock hour here.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. Good morning, everyone. I just want to let you know that Metro is hosting a series of virtual and in-person community meetings for our Sepulveda Transit Corridor project. So these are community meetings in preparation for the release of the draft environmental impact report. They are not the release of the draft environmental impact report. There will be public hearings held specifically for that, but this is really to catch the community up to speed about the project and speak a little bit more about the process moving forward. The first meeting is tomorrow, Wednesday, May 21st from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I'll post all this in the chat once I finish. And then there's an in-person meeting on Tuesday, May 27th at the Westfield Topanga Community Center in Canoga Park. So that'll be Tuesday, May 27th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. That's in person. And then there'll be two on the west side, Wednesday, May 28th in Culver City, Thursday, May 29th in Westwood, and then another one back in the San Fernando Valley on Saturday, May 31st in Sherman Oaks from 3 to 5 p.m. So I'll post that schedule in the chat. I know the Westfield Topanga Community Center is probably the closest to everyone, but I know that there is some interest about the Sepulveda Transit Corridor project with this COG. So hope to see one of you there. And thank you.
Any questions for Nick? Okay, let's move to the AQMD, please.
Hi, good morning, board, and thank you for having me. I'm Jason Lowe, the Deputy Executive Officer for the Monitoring Analysis Division here at South Coast AQMD, and I'll be providing an update from last month's report to the analysis of air quality data in and around the Calabasas area related to the concerns about wildfire debris hauling. The South Coast AQMD team has identified many existing air sensors in the Calabasas area in addition to the station installed by the City of Calabasas. The air monitors reviewed are located close to landfill and in the surrounding area, including along the truck routes, and provide insight on potential pollution from truck route activity and windblown dust. A review of the data from these key air monitoring sensors recently have shown typical levels of air pollution and that the levels are similar to those from the same time period last year at a time when there was no presence of hauling activity. In addition, a comparison was made to sensors close to the roads with the debris hauling activity, specifically Las Virgenes Road, to those that were farther away in Calabasas and did not see any differences. That concludes my report, and happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Jason? Alicia, did you have a question?
No, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, I just saw your mute click off. Anybody else? Any other agency partners here that would like to?
Hi there.
Hi.
Yeah, this is Josh Torres, Principal Manager of Government Relations with Edison. I'll keep it really brief. So council members, city managers, I just wanted to make sure that you saw the email that was pushed out by me and my team on May 6th. So this coming Thursday, we have 2 workshops for local governments around public safety power shutoff readiness in advance of fire season. So we'll go through, everything you need to know about PSPS, making sure that your community is prepared. We'll have our experts on to answer your questions. We have one virtual webinar from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and then another in the evening from 5:15 to 6:45. If you can't find the email or you need me to resend it, just reach out to me and let me know, and I'm happy to push that back to you. And again, this is for government officials. We'll have other workshops led by our customer service team that will be targeting residents later in the year. Thank you.
Jeremy, I see you're back. Did you want to chime in on Agoura in any way? Jeremy? Okay, he's gone. Any other agency partner? Oh, there you are. Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to add something since.
Sorry.
I don't see you, Jeremy. No, there you are. Okay.
Yeah. So we're just giving updates?
We
I
did
can
already,
present to
but
my
we
board.
wanted to see if you had anything you wanted to add to Nate's update.
No, I'm sure Nate covered it all. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Sure. Okay, so we're now going to move on to our one action item today, Terry.
I'll make this quick. Let's see. At the governing board meeting last month, I presented a preliminary statement of work that was approved by the governing board, and it was with the understanding that the unallocated funding that the COG had could be carried over two years. Subsequently, we learned that the COG has to program the funding even if it doesn't get used in order to keep the county from clawing the money back. So it was suggested by the homeless initiative team at the county that works with us on programming these local solution funds that we allocate the additional $68,000 to problem solving. And problem solving is basically kind of a catch-all category that works with, or that the funds can be used in working with individuals that are having difficulty, like getting into a shelter, getting into temporary housing, getting into permanent housing, anything else that may come up related to that. And that could be something that the COG could do internally, or it could be something that the COG would hire an independent contractor that could work on those issues. So that just kind of rounds out our statement of work that and this is the problem solving category, and the funding that is the 68,000. Sorry, the spreadsheet is huge. There's the additional funding, and that comes up to our total of 620,337. So it would be my recommendation that the governing board approve the revised 25-26 homeless funding statement of work. That concludes my report.
Any questions for Terry? Comments? So this is an action item.
Yes.
So we need a motion to approve the revised 25-26 homeless funding statement of work.
Jeremy Wolf, I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Terry, would you call the roll, please?
I will.
Thank you.
Aniko Gold.
Aye.
Marianne Riggins.
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub.
Yes.
Jeremy Wolf.
Aye.
Kelly Honig.
Aye. Motion passes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Terry. Any comments, questions for future agenda items other than those we've discussed today? From anyone? The next TAC meeting is June 4th. And the next governing board meeting is on June 17th, where we will have Penny back in charge. Any other comments? With that,
Sorry, Kelly. I wanted to make a motion. If we could put on the agenda for future item to discuss a COG-wide shuttle system.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to adjourn today's meeting.
Got it.
It's hard for me to do this. Rob, please.
Yeah, I think Kelly is we're all very sad with Bill's passing. Sue McSweeney's longtime council member with us, 24 years. Such a wonderful person. We know how strong Sue is, but she's going through a lot right now, her and her family. And we, of course, also heard the news of Bill's passing this past Sunday, and we just our thoughts, our prayers are with the entire McSweeney family, and I'm sure you all share that as well. But difficult time for the Westlake Village family, but in particular, of course, the McSweeney family. So, yes.
So I wanted to adjourn today in Bill's name. I'm not doing a very good job, but Bill, we're going to miss you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.